Speaking of stop, it's all over. It's all over for the Melbourne Rebels. You may have heard about this. Rugby Australia has decided to shut down the club after 14 seasons. It rejected a consortium's rescue plan, claiming the risk was just too high. The Rebels have been in administration since January with debts of more than $23 million. The team will play its final Super Rugby game next month.
This is a very difficult day for rugby, and it's a very difficult day for rugby fans in Melbourne.
It really is. I feel like it's such a shame, but it's definitely not a surprise.
No.
That this has happened. This club has been in turmoil for a long time.
It's been a long, slow death, hasn't it? And
For the whole code.
But is this here rugby as a whole, not just the Rebels?
yeah, rugby's interesting. You know, back in 2003, they had that World Cup in Sydney, and that seemed to be the rugby moment. They came out of that with a huge profit,
massive,
and we all just expected rugby to start to challenge rugby league, but it seems to have gone the opposite. So there's probably a lesson in there somewhere about when you get that sort of money into a sport, how you invest it and how you make sure you grow. But it's worthwhile pointing out that rugby is still very strong in rural areas in Australia. There's still great club rugby competitions in Sydney and Melbourne. So I really do hope that that Melbourne can get its own rugby team at some point soon. It's worth pointing out that this doesn't apply to the Rebels women's team.
Yes, and I do think that Rugby Australia is still looking to invest quite heavily there and to keep growing that part of the game because they still want to have a presence somewhere in Victoria.
Yeah.
But this is such a massive step back for them, and even just the competition as a whole, like the Super Rugby Pacific is just not a well-known brand.
No.
I don't
Like it's in this country, no one.
What's it
really
so hard? Like it's hard to run a sporting team. I remember I was in charge of the WhatsApp for my mixed basketball team, and it's just people couldn't make it. It was a nightmare.
Is that when you tried to recruit Scotty Pippen?
That's how bad it got. I had to go to the time to ask Scotty Pippen to play. Wow.